back to the same level probably is the big work which the present bankers will have to concentrate. Any customer walk into any branch should own up the merged entity and should not relate मेरी बैंक में ऐसा होता था. The employee should not relate मेरी बैंक में ऐसा होता था. Because one thing is definitely there that with the merged scenario, the growth opportunities for the smaller employees of the smaller entity, they to some extent get impacted adversely. And thus that is another point which occurs to me as a banker, that how do I create an equal opportunity for the acquiring as well as the merged entities so that everybody is really reaping the benefits. I think I have taken much time, Madhav. I am open to other questions subsequently. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mohanji. I think a lot of good insights, and I think you also gave a customer.
Madhav, your voice is very feeble here.
I think you also gave the customer's viewpoint, which was quite critical. I think we'll dwell on that a bit more in the second round of questions which we ask. I'll now go to Mr. Ajay Nanavati ji, who is also joining us from Bangalore, I suppose. He is the former chairman of Syndicate Bank, and I would request his opening remarks on this subject.
Thank you, Madhav. I also want to appreciate being invited. I was quite surprised when I was invited, that because I am not a lifeline banker, and I don't necessarily have a finance background. I spent 30 years with a large global multinational, and I have been associated with a lot of global mergers and acquisitions and integrations. So, just echoing some of the points that was already made, I was there when the Syndicate Canara merger happened, and I recall my reaction at that juncture was that typically when you do a merger, the rationale is built around leveraging synergies and optimizing costs. That's always the traditional logic for a merger. In this case, I think one of the biggest things that I felt, again, as a person who doesn't come from the banking industry, was that there was actually consciously said communications to the effect that none of the branches would be, when the branches were merged. Today, if I look back 4 years later, the sum total of the two branches that existed are almost the same, about 5% reduction. Similarly in headcount. So, in my opinion, there were not really great leveraging of synergies. It was more of a cut-paste approach. Now, if you look at the fact, in my opinion, obviously size and scale matter, but there's the trade-off with agility. If you look at the global context, there is no Indian bank that makes it in the global top 10 in terms of size and asset size. And in terms of market cap, the only one that makes it to the top 10 is the HDFC after the merger. So to me, size and scale is important, but if it's not adequately leveraged, you are not going to see the benefits of scale. The other irony is, if you look at the global landscape, of the 10 largest global banks, none of them show up in the 10 most profitable banks. So that I found very ironical, that size does not in itself, if the synergies are not fully leveraged, going to give you the benefit of bottom line margin improvement or profit improvement. So I think that has been, it was a bit of an eye-opener for me, is the fact that none of the top 10 global banks makes it in the top 10 when you look at it from a profitability perspective in terms of margins. So again, I come from a world where this whole issue of scale and synergies are critical. But again, as somebody touched upon, I think customer satisfaction to me is the key metric that should gauge the success of a merger or not. And the feedback that I've received informally, anecdotally, is that there has been no improvement, at least in the context of the Canara Syndicate merger. So I'll leave it at that. Again, I think the point is, what I want to close with, is that size and agility are very critical. You cannot, if you have size and are not agile, if you lose your agility, especially in the current world that we live in, where technology is going to supersede and make many of these obsolete dinosaurs, if you are not able to leverage, if you lose your agility by virtue of size, then you have lost the game.
Thank you, Mr. Nanavati. Thank you for that. Giving a perspective of a non-banker, because I know that you spent most of your time with the industry, and then you are the non-executive chairman for Syndicate Bank, and thank you for your perspective. I'll now go to Mr. Vadrajan. I hope his audio has improved now. Mr. Vadrajan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Please, we'd like to hear your initial thoughts on the subject, please.
Yeah, I think, thank you very much for the invitation and nice being here. My initial feedback is that you have to look at this consolidation from a financial stability point of view. When you look at financial stability, large banks who are basically taking deposits are much more safer, more robust, and are capable of withstanding headwinds much better than smaller banks. And I think that's the reason if you see any large developed economy, you will see that the large banks, 4 or 5 of the large banks constitute almost 50 to 60% of the overall banking system. And that's where we are headed to, where if you look at all the problems which have come through in the banking system in the past, it's all been the smaller banks. So trying to consolidate banks, trying to make them larger, trying to make them much more safer, trying to make sure that they are an ability to serve these interests of and serve the economy in the best possible manner. I think consolidation is the only way to go, and I think that is basically what I think the thought process has been in terms of making these banks larger through consolidation. That's the right way to go. Of course, these banks need to be agile. These banks need to be serving the customers to the best extent possible. I think that's a given. But I think whether it's consolidated or not without consolidation, independent banks, I think that's a given. So I don't think so. Service levels have deteriorated. It's possibly not improved. But I certainly believe with the consolidation, the banks have become a lot more safer and the system has become a lot more stable and sound. And I think we just need to keep building on this, and that's something which I'm sure all stakeholders are focused on. That would be my initial comments, and I can take questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vadrajan. I'll quickly go through my second round of questions. I'll give a minute and a half to each one of you. Your thoughts whether this consolidation of, say, State Bank of India with its subsidiaries and whatever has taken place in the last few years, a Union Bank or a PNB or a Canara Bank merging having an anchor bank and merging with a few other banks, in your view, was it successful or unsuccessful, and what lessons can we learn, and what is it going forward? Meaning by, do we need to have another round of consolidation, or whether this is sufficient in your views? I'll start with Mr. Dubeji, with you on this.
I feel in the State Bank, the integration has been much better in comparison to other banks. Now, if you ask specific questions, so I am saying what I have observed from the field, from the market, the integration of Bank of Baroda, integration of Indian Bank, and integration of Union Bank has been much better than Syndicate and Canara or PNB, OBC, for various reasons. Now, what has happened? Customers are suffering. I am telling you the feedback from not one cross-section. Customers are suffering. Harmony and interpersonal relations are affected. Staff of both the banks merged and the merging, they are all not happy, and bank's business is static. I'll tell you a little data, just data. What consolidation should have happened? Business increase. Scale has increased, that's all. I was just seeing from the Google here only sitting, market share has gone down of PSBs from 2017 to now in 6 years, from 85% to 69%. We have come down below 70%, 16%, coming to deposit. The growth of private sector banks deposit has been 80%, and public sector banks have been 34%. 61% share of the deposits in public sector banks, while private sector banks has gone up to, yes, it has gone up to 34%. Now, FD growth, fixed deposit. Now, FD growth is 3% decline in public sector banks, while 3.5% increase in private sector banks. Now, this is the hard data. Consolidation should have increased in improving these data. Credit. Now, coming to credit, very alarming. Market share declined 20% in 10 years. 20% is a big number. Now, PSBs from 74% credit, it has come down to 54%, about 20%. And for a private sector bank, from 18% to 36%. Now, you ask for what should be done. There are 7 banks left remaining for consolidation. In the public sector bank, Bank of India, Central Bank, I am naming UCO, IOB, Bank of Maharashtra, and Punjab and Sindh Bank. And there is a IDBI Bank. As per budget of 2021-22, government had decided to privatize 2 banks. One was tried, it didn't happen till now, maybe for valuation and other things. One more, maybe they do 2 privatization still. So out of 6, 5 remain. Out of 5, maybe 1 or 2 could be still consolidated merged. Rest could be made independently privatized there itself. Wherever, when privatization or consolidation, when consolidation is not bringing desired result, let them be privatized there itself. And if they are not effective later on, they will merge automatically. See, Times Bank, GTB, various banks were merged among each other and there were no issues. So, this is important that benefits of consolidation, what are laid down, should be achieved.
Thank you, Dubey ji. Mohan Tansale ji, your views on this?
So, well, I strongly endorse that the consolidation has definitely has yielded results, but it has to be leveraged further. Dubeji has given you the top line numbers. If you look at the bottom line numbers, the efficiency numbers, the ROA has improved from 0.2 to 0.7. ROE has improved from 3.5 to 11. Gross NPA ratio reduced from 10.3 to 5. Net NPA ratio 3.7 to 1.2. And CRAR improved from 12.9 to 15.5. So, well, you may say that economic, but let me tell you that